behind our intention to go into government. That's what the Labour Party was formed for, not being in opposition.
The political world is in uproar after Prime Minister Keir Starmer faced a brutal takedown live on air. A journalist, frustrated by years of empty promises and policy reversals, laid bare the inconsistencies in Starmer's leadership, leaving the PM visibly shaken. This televised clash has sparked widespread debate across the UK, with many questioning whether Starmer is fit to lead a nation grappling with economic and social challenges. Let's unpack the explosive exchange and its implications for British politics. But first, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for your regular dose of political updates. The moment that shocked viewers. The fiery confrontation began when the journalist demanded answers. Why should anybody believe you? The question pierced through the carefully curated facade of a politician who had once promised sweeping reforms. In 2019, Starmer campaigned on a platform of economic and social justice, including higher taxes for the wealthy, free tuition, and a compassionate immigration policy. Yet, once in power, these pledges were quietly abandoned, leaving voters feeling betrayed.
But what I've been able to be very clear with investors and businesses is because growth is the #1 mission.
The journalist didn't hold back, listing each broken promise one by one. Economic justice? Gone. Abolishing tuition fees? Gone. Defending migrants' rights? Gone. Why should anyone trust you now? Starmer, visibly unsettled, stumbled over his responses, trying to justify his policy U-turns with vague statements. His discomfort was palpable, and the public noticed. A betrayal of trust. This wasn't just a moment of embarrassment, it was a reckoning. Starmer's rise to power had been built on promises to restore fairness and rebuild trust in British politics. Yet, once he reached Downing Street, his priorities seemed to shift. The public's disillusionment with his leadership became a central theme of the interview.
I know that the work is going on to identify what blocks need work on, how we accelerate it. The money has been allocated.
The journalist's frustration mirrored the sentiments of millions across the UK who feel let down by the government's inability to tackle soaring living costs, skyrocketing energy bills, and persistent inequality. Starmer's pledges to bring economic relief and stability now ring hollow as households struggle to make ends meet. The energy crisis, broken promises, and rising costs. One of the most heated moments came when Starmer was pressed on his energy policies. He had previously promised to lower household energy bills through a publicly owned company, Great British Energy, which would invest in renewable energy. While this sounded promising, the reality has been far from ideal. Energy bills have continued to climb, with the price cap now sitting at an eye-watering £1,717 per month for the average household. Starmer attempted to defend his plans, claiming they would eventually reduce bills by £400 per household. But his arguments lack clarity and conviction. Critics argue that his government has failed to address the root causes of the crisis, leaving many to question whether his solutions are anything more than political theatre. Divisions within the Labour Party. Adding to the turmoil, Starmer's leadership has exposed deep divisions within the Labour Party. Many MPs are furious over his decision to cut winter fuel payments, a move that has left vulnerable populations struggling during harsh winters. During the interview, Starmer was confronted with the party's internal dissent. How can you claim Labour is united when your policies have caused such outrage within your own ranks? This question cut to the heart of the matter. Starmer's leadership style, characterised by top-down decision-making and an apparent disregard for opposition, has alienated even his allies. The promise of a united Labour Party championing the interests of the British public now seems like another empty slogan. Immigration policies under fire. The conversation turned to immigration, where Starmer's stance has been equally inconsistent.
One of the things we've done is to create mission delivery boards, which doesn't sound like a very interesting concept, but is...
His criticism of the government's controversial plan to relocate refugees to Rwanda has been vocal. Yet his own proposals have faced scrutiny. Starmer has called for safe and legal migration routes, but experts argue that such pathways don't currently exist in practice. Instead of offering clear solutions, his government recently signed an 8-year agreement costing £521 million, a decision many see as counterproductive. Vulnerable migrants from war-torn regions like Syria and Afghanistan remain at risk, forced to take perilous journeys due to the lack of viable alternatives. A leadership crisis. As the interview progressed, Starmer's inability to provide straight answers became increasingly apparent. Whether discussing the NHS backlog, energy reform, or immigration, his responses were vague and evasive. This lack of clarity only fueled suspicions that his leadership is marked by contradiction and indecision. One of his key pledges was to reduce the NHS backlog by adding 40,000 appointments each week. Yet, the backlog now stands at a staggering 8 million cases, with no clear plan in sight to tackle the issue effectively. Starmer's lofty promises feel increasingly disconnected from the harsh realities facing the British public. Public reaction and fallout. The live interview has left a lasting impact, with many describing it as a turning point for Starmer's leadership. Social media erupted with reactions as viewers shared clips of the exchange and debated whether Starmer still has any credibility. For many, this was more than just a bad day on camera. It was a stark reminder of the growing gap between political rhetoric and real action.
Invited me to go in the director's box. Arsenal have done that. Now, that's not a ticket you can buy. You can't pay for it.
Pensioners struggling to heat their homes, families drowning under rising costs, and young people burdened by unaffordable education fees. These are the issues that matter to the British public. Starmer's failure to address them convincingly has raised serious doubts about his ability to lead the country through its current challenges. What's next for Starmer? The question now is whether this public humiliation will mark the beginning of the end for Starmer's political career. With trust in his leadership waning, he faces an uphill battle to regain public confidence. His promises of a brighter future for the UK seem increasingly hollow, overshadowed by the harsh realities of his policy failures. As the fallout from this explosive interview continues, one thing is clear: the British public is tired of empty words. They want real solutions, not excuses. Whether Starmer can rise to the occasion or fade into political obscurity remains to be seen. As always, feel free to share your thoughts on these important topics in the comments below. And if you haven't already, you're welcome to like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay informed on important issues. Thank you for joining us today and see you in the next video.